All right, so we'll get another one kicked off for you. Good morning. Taking another break from Skyline activities today. As you can see, weather's getting nice and gloomy. It's supposed to be raining over the next 3 to 4 days. So that'll bring us on to working on the vehicle that you see behind me. Subaru doing typical Subaru things with a downed motor. But it's a 2010 Subaru Legacy GT. I built this thing about 15 years ago when it was relatively new. I left my ownership for a while, went over to my dad. My dad enjoyed it for a long time until the motor started giving him some problems. Now it's come back over this way, and it's gonna be a build that we'll be doing for my son, so for my son's first car. But for the time being, to be able to do something while we're inside with this bad weather, we're gonna pull these wheels. We got some Volk LE37s. Old school Volk wheel, still really nice condition wheel though, but them being old, they do show their age. So we got to get these lips refinished, repolished, and then repurposed. So we're going to be throwing some stockies on this car for today, and then we're going to start that refinishing process, and these Volks are actually going to move their way over to the Celica GT4, and we'll throw something different on this car going forward. So these wheels have definitely seen some better days. You can see here what I'm talking about. So this has all been discolored, pitted, very oxidized. Generally it's a fairly clean wheel. All the decals have worn away. And as we look at these other wheels here, they're all kind of doing the same thing. So hopefully most of this will just polish out. Again, the spokes are all pretty clean. They definitely need some polish on them. So we'll give you a little walkthrough of this car. As you can see, it's pretty clean still. It'll definitely be an awesome car. For my son, it'll be a fun build to do with him. We got this Tesla style smart stereo system, 6-speed manual. It's just our access part. Let me go ahead and pop this open. So this car's just a full bolt-on. It's running stock intake, but has an aftermarket intercooler, so Racer X top mount intercooler. Just pull this off. This is just sitting on here. Nothing too crazy. Definitely seen some cleaner days. Hallman manual boost controller, and then it runs an NVIDIA catless turbo back. So downpipe all the way out the back. But makes, I think it was 316 wheel and 360 foot-pound. Plenty of power, especially for my son to just start driving. All this stuff's gonna get swapped out. So this is a front end that I was working on as like a custom front. These are actually the Japanese front spats. I did a build on a wagon that utilized these, and I'll try to slap some pictures up of that wagon. But I just test fitted these. This is all gonna go though. This will get a full Japanese front cut. I have an S-Craft rear that'll go on here. It's got brand new suspension. So at least as far as it goes for the coilovers, it's running some new Gecko Racing coilovers. And yeah, that's about it. So it's a pretty basic build. Definitely a clean one though, and not a car that you see around too often. Let's go ahead and get these wheels pulled off. And on to the next one. And that's how we're looking now on the stockies. Actually doesn't look as bad as it could be, but definitely no Volks. So to see if I can give you a better depiction about what's going on here with these off now. There you go. You can see all this pitting and oxidation. So the unfortunate thing, I mean, these are pretty work decals anyway, but those are gonna need to come off. And I'm gonna need to find some kind of reproduction decal set. But there you can see, these are old school spec. So fortunately for me, I have kind of older cars. Right, I got this GT4, runs a fairly high offset anyway, so these will work pretty well on there as well. And in the Subaru world, all those high offset specs usually work pretty well. But you guys let me know, what color wheels do you think should go on here? I already have a set that's gonna go on. You just let me know what color you think they should be. So another side note here, for these old Volk center caps, if you guys know where I can get these old like O-ring style lockers, I guess I could just find something that fits it. But if you know where a specific one is for these, I'd appreciate it. These are getting pretty brittle. One of them already snapped, so I'm down to 3. And then I'm gonna need to get some new inserts in these centers. I'm sure I can order like some replica pieces for that. I'm not a super purist, it doesn't matter to me, as long as they look clean. But as you know, anything like this, like a center cap on a Japanese style wheel, costs a fortune. All right, so it's the next day. I'm gonna get back to working on the wheels in just a bit, but part of the channel is kind of following like the everyday life of what I've been trying to build here. So if you weren't aware, I have a clothing company. It's called Kaiju Company. What I do on top of just like clothing is printing pretty much anything. So, you know, it's like sublimating cups or tumblers, business cards, things of that nature. And I also do like custom license plates to help people like advertise for their businesses. So a buddy of mine, Thomas 50 Shades, he's a JDM importer. He's actually who got my Celica GT4 over here. And you'll see a bunch of cars coming over on the channel that I'll be working on with him. So I wanted to make him a license plate so he can advertise whenever we bring some of those cars for display. And I figured I'd show you how I make those. It's a little bit more complicated process than maybe it should be, and that's just because I'm cheap and I don't want to pay the monthly for Photoshop. So I have an old laptop with a version of Photoshop CS6 where you're able to own it before you didn't have to pay the monthly. And then I use a free version on my desktop, which is GIMP. So I'll give you a step-by-step on how I just start things on GIMP, push it over to Photoshop, and then print out my emulsion down prints so I can transfer them onto the plates. All right, so a quick little step-by-step. So Thomas has his base file that he sent over. It's got a white background on it. I can utilize Photoshop in order to pull that with like a smart selection tool and delete out the white from that. It doesn't always come out the cleanest. A lot of times when you do that, it'll have like these little pixelated corners that I can clean up. I find the easiest way to pull background colors when I need them to be absent is to utilize Photo Room, which just has a background remover. So I'm gonna go into its background removal tool. I'm just gonna select that base file that Thomas sent over. And this is already defaulted to remove background. So this is now just gonna leave all the black lines that I need for his outline. I'm gonna save that as a PNG. And this will be no background Thomas. Save that file. Then I'm gonna open that up in GIMP and I'm just gonna lay my text over. So we'll open this up. We find our file, no background Thomas. And then real quickly, all I need to do, resize this, lay the text over as I like it. And then it would be at a diagonal for his Instagram handle at Thomas50Shades, and then just JDM imports in the bottom right corner. So pretty simple to do that. For the image, I'm just gonna affect the canvas size. I need this canvas size to be wider. I set that in inches, just an easier metric for me to go by. So I'll say it's 20 inches wide, 16 inches tall, and we'll resize that. Now that it's resized, I just center this up. Make myself some new layers, and then off of these layers I can lay down my text. He wants the text to be red, so for the first red we'll go ahead and just do our little JDM import. Change that JDM import so that it has contrasting colors, so we'll do one red, one black. We'll up the size of this font. And then we're just gonna shift this over. So I'll have this overlapping into that black outline just a little bit. And then to save you time, I already made this. So super basic, pick the fonts that you want. You know, set your location for your text as you think it's gonna be fit very well. And here's about the dimensions of what I would use for a license plate. So that gives me the length that I want for the Instagram handle. And I'm just gonna transfer this over to Photoshop. And from Photoshop, I'll do minor adjustments, turn it into an emulsion down print, and then we'll print out our sublimation paper. Now I have my templated size. I'm running an old Sawgrass SG400. I've been doing this for a good number of years. So man, I've had this thing for probably a decade. It's definitely on its last leg, but it's still working. But that is a special sublimation dye printer. So it's running dye that I can transfer instead of just your standard ink. But I'm gonna go to print this. I'm just letting the printer manage the colors. All my settings are for quality. I run an emulsion down, which is just gonna flip this over, and you'll see why in a little bit. So I run emulsion down printing. It's gonna flip that around, not affect the scaling, and I'm just gonna print it. So we have our finished print. So again, this is our sublimation dye, emulsion down being that it's printed backwards, and that's because we're gonna transfer that onto the plate, which we lay down on top. We have our press set at 400 degrees for 60 seconds. And I have just a cut piece of butcher block paper that's gonna protect this dye from bleeding out into any other spaces. We'll take our plate. Again, our plate's gonna run face down on here. We're just gonna center that up. And give it a press. All right. So that heat came down a little bit just because it's transferring that heat through the item, but still plenty of heat through there. This thing's super hot right now, so I'm just gonna let this cool off a little bit. Even though we have these heat gloves, they can melt. So I'm gonna let that cool. I'm actually done with this for now. I'm just doing that one plate, so shut that down. And then we'll come back when that thing's all done and ready to be handled. So this was cooled off for a little bit. It's still gonna be pretty hot. So I'm not really gonna take too many chances with trying to hold it with my bare hands. But we'll give this a little lift off. And there we go. So now he's got his little license plate to put on. So, not too shabby. All right, so back to our regular scheduled programming. We have these wheels to attend to. So took a little break just to get that thing handled for Thomas. But now we get back to these wheels and finishing up these lips. So from your camera angle, it might not look too bad. In person, they're pretty bad. Standard practice for cleaning these things up is I'm just gonna get a nice good wet sand, just like we did on the headlights, if you saw the headlight videos. And then we're just gonna polish this out with some mag polish. So when I'm sanding stuff like this, I like to do these longer sweeps. I don't know, I feel like the paper works better for me that way. It also doesn't give me like low spots and stuff like that where something's been sanded much more excessively than another area. This seems to give a lot more even sanding across the board. I'm not doing too much crazy pressure on here right now. This is a lower grit, more abrasive sandpaper. The wheels aren't super worked. They kind of just need some refining. So I don't want to go any further into them than I have to. I want to hope that just the polish of these lips is going to do the trick. If not, if it looks like these things want to start dying back again, then I'll have to re-clear them or get some type of clear coating around them to make sure they hold up. It's kind of similar, like I said, like the headlights did exactly the same thing. So now that's all sanded up.
pretty well flat. We're gonna do this old school method. My dad taught me this when I was a youngster, so I'm sure people have been doing it since long before that. Just a cotton sock, old sock, mother's mag polish. And I'm gonna do this old school, so I'm not gonna use any fancy tools, anything like that. I'm just gonna take this tarnish off by hand. So, I'll set the polish, run my line, and I'm just gonna use my finger to polish this out. You'll see the tarnish coming up. It's gonna be all black and dirty looking. Then you're gonna see a polish, like real nice shine underneath it. So I'm gonna work that polish in for a little bit, and then I'm gonna wipe it away. So I'm just gonna use another side of that sock there to kind of wipe that clean. And this goes by pretty quick. Doing it this way, I'll bring you over and show you the difference here. So you can look at this line here, this hard line where I stopped. So none of this is polished out here. And then that's all polished up right in this space here. So the whole wheel is gonna be looking like that all over again. So again, no polish here, then a polished territory there. And because this video is probably getting kind of long, I'll have to show you the finished product when I get this on the car. So I'll have that up tomorrow for you. These will be all finished polish. It's just rinse and repeat, just like everything is with cutting out the bad stuff and buffing in the good stuff. So if you have any questions, again, anything you want to see, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what kind of content you want on here, or if there's any more pointers you want, whether it's with this or with the sublimation. Again, like that sublimation stuff is all part of what I'm doing with my clothing company. And I'll be diving in that a little bit deeper, show you some of the processes on what I'm doing with the clothing, how I print it, how we run their website, everything I've done to build my business to what it is today. Because it's not doing too bad, and I'm sure there's a lot of you out there that are gonna wanna be doing the same thing, or maybe you're already doing the same thing, and you just like to see what other people are doing. So anything I can offer to the world that is useful, I'm more than willing to. So just let me know what you wanna see, what you wanna hear about, and we'll make sure to get it on the channel. Until next time, we'll see you.